Hi, I'm Mrs. Brimeyer. Many of you know me as Mrs. B, but today I'm going to add something to my name. I'm going to be Mrs. B, the book lady, because I'm here to talk to you today about the Iowa Children's Choice Award books. This award started way back in 1978 by the Iowa Association of School Librarians. Their purpose was to encourage kids to read more good books and also to recognize outstanding American authors. This award is unique because only Iowa kids in grades 3 through 6 can participate. This award is also by Iowa students because all the books on the list have been nominated by kids just like you across the state. So this year, as you're reading, if you come across a book that you think, hey, I think other kids would enjoy reading a book like this, let your library teachers know, and they'll see about getting the books on next year's list. There are 2 rules for it, though. 1, it has to be written by an American author, and 2, it has to be written within the last 5 years. So the books that I'm going to be telling you about today are all relatively new books. Now, here comes the fun part. If you, yes you, read at least 2 of the books on the list, you will be eligible to vote for the winner of this year's Iowa Children's Choice Award. Now, you can either read it yourself or you can have the book read to you. The voting will be done the end of March. I've been giving these book talks for 16 years now, and I've noticed over the years that usually there's a group of books that have a similar theme or somehow how they're alike. This one year there was a bunch of books about bullies. One year there was a bunch of books about pets. What I noticed this year is that 12 out of the 20 books had girls as their main characters. And don't worry, guys, there's enough action in all of these books for everybody. I also noticed that there were 6 books that talked about a group of kids. And there were 4 of the books that have alternating chapters. And what that means is that, like, chapter 1 would be written by one character, the next chapter would have a different character's point of view. And they go back and forth like that. They alternate. So be sure and listen for those things as I'm talking about the books. Now, I want you to know that we do have bookmarks available, and these bookmarks have the list of all 20 books on them, so you can keep track of them. If you have a bookmark with you right now, what I'd like you to do is turn it over on the back and write your name and your homeroom on the back of it. Then what I'm going to be doing in a few minutes is I'm going to be going right down the list. These books are arranged in alphabetical order by the author's last name. I'm going to be going right down the list. And as I'm talking, if you hear a book and you think, I think I'd like to read that book, I want you to draw a circle around the title. If it's a book that you think, I can't wait to read this book, then I want you to put a little star next to the title. Then when you go to the library, take this list along, and that will help you with your book choices. Our first book is called Ms. Bixby's Last Day. And this is the story about a teacher. And this is a teacher that everybody wants to have. She's funny. During literature time, she uses different voices for the various characters, and she makes it so you want to learn something new from her. So you can imagine how devastated the class is when she shares with them that she won't be able to finish the year. It seems that she has cancer and she has to go to the hospital for treatments. Ms. Bixby had shared with her class that she had a dream, and there are 3 boys in the class, Steve, Topher, and Brand, who decide that they're going to do everything in their power to help Ms. Bixby's dream come true, even if it means they're going to have to skip school to do it. Topher, as usual, is the man with the plan. And plan looks good on paper, but everything goes wrong right from the start. Their money gets stolen. They're involved in a fight. And then there's that encounter with a picture of a shark that's been painted on the inside of a toilet bowl. Yeah. This is one of those books that has the alternating chapters. So you're going to be hearing the story told from the 3 boys' point of view. And you learn more about each of the boys as you read their various chapters and why it's so important to each of them to help Miss Bixby realize her dream. Because as the boy says, Ms. Bixby is one of the good ones. Okay, you guys know that there are bad people in the world, and when they get caught, they have to stand trial. There are witnesses who tell the court all the nasty things the bad guys have done. And as you can imagine, the bad guys don't want them to tell their story. When the threat becomes too dangerous, the U.S. Marshals step in and try to protect these witnesses. And that's what our next book is about, Greetings from Witness Protection. The mom in the story has testified against her own family, and now they are out to get her. The marshals are going to do all that they can to protect this family. They have them move to a new city. They have them change their names. And this is the most brilliant idea ever. They're going to change this family of 3 into a family of 4. The marshals have gone to an orphanage and found Nikki, who looks an awful lot like the mom. Nikki agrees that she will do everything she can to help protect this family, and she agrees to change her name to Charlotte. Now, the boy in the family, originally Lucas, now known as Jackson, hates everything about this situation. He hates that he had to leave his family and friends. He hates his new school and the new city. And he really hates that Charlotte is now a part of his family. Charlotte's doing all that she can to protect them. She's not doing anything to draw attention to herself, but she has her own issues. Because you see, Charlotte is a pickpocket and a thief. She just can't help herself. But it is looking like hiding in plain sight is working. And then the family finds out that the mom's brother has been released from jail and he's out on a technicality and he is looking for them. And you just wonder, how protected is this family in witness protection? The Perfect Score is another one of these books that has alternating chapters. And you learn the story from 5 different characters. First, there's Gavin. Gavin loves football, but he can never play on a team because he's expected to be home to watch his sister while his mom and dad are at work. Then his best friend is Randy, and she is so wrapped up in gymnastics, there isn't any time in her life for anything or anyone else, including school. Trevor is a bit of a troublemaker and a little bit of a bully too. He spends a lot of his recess inside because of his poor behavior. Natalie wants to be a lawyer like her mom and dad are. She likes everything orderly and predictable, but she doesn't always get it. And then there's Scott. Scott is messy, he's clumsy, and he really doesn't have any friends. But he has a heart of gold, and he always wants the best for everyone. Now you wonder what these kids have in common. Well, they all are in the same homeroom. They all like it when their teacher reads aloud to them, and they've all joined the same after-school club. The statewide assessment or standardized tests are coming up, and everyone is stressed out about it. The kids, the teachers, the administrators. It seems that all of them are concerned about the results of this test for many reasons, for many people. And then Scott comes up with this great idea. He's figured out a way that everyone can get a perfect score. Will it work? And more importantly, will they get caught? What's the cost of a perfect score? And I need to tell you that if you like the characters, the good news is there's a sequel to this book. It's called The Perfect Secret, and it has the same characters picking up right where this book lets off. I think you're really going to be interested in reading my next book. It's called New Kid, and it has won the 2020 Newbery Award, the Newbery Medal for the most distinguished book written this year. This book it's also may be interesting for you because it's a graphic novel, which means it looks and reads like a comic book. This is the story about Jordan, and Jordan likes to record in his sketchbook the events that are happening in his life. It's his way of journaling. He'd really like to go to an art school, but his mom is bound and determined that he go to a fancy private school across town. And of course, mom wins. Well, when Jordan arrives at the school, he finds that there's not much diversity there. There are not very many people of color who look like him, either kids or teachers. Jordan also notices that the ones that are there are victims of stereotype, which means that that people assume something about them because of the color of their skin. Well, Jordan does everything that he can to fit in. He even goes out for sports that he's never participated in before, like soccer and baseball. And pretty soon he does have some new friends, both black and white. But then he notices that he can't really relate to his friends in the neighborhood anymore. And these are guys he's known since kindergarten. And he begins to wonder, where does he really belong? Oh, man, it's so hard to be the new kid. Saving Winslow is the story about a little donkey who's born on Uncle Pete's farm. Now, right from the start, it's evident that this donkey is going to need some tender, loving care. And right away, Louis volunteers for the job, even though he hasn't had much luck with taking care of pets in the past. Now, everybody warns him, don't get too attached to this donkey. He's probably not going to survive. But Louis says, stop it. I don't want to hear any negative comments about this little donkey. He will survive. And I've named him Winslow. Well, his friends like to come over and check on how Winslow's doing. There's Mac, who lives next door, who's Louis's best friend. And then there's some new girls in the neighborhood by the name of Claudine and Nora. For some reason, Nora has more negative comments about Winslow than anybody else. And you start to wonder why she's doing this. But it is Nora who brings over an old dog collar and leash so they can safely take Winslow for a walk. Louis is also dealing with the loss of his brother being gone. His brother Gus is serving in the army far away, and Louis really misses him. So taking care of Winslow is helping Louis with his loneliness. And then the animal control officer shows up, and he tells Louis that farm animals are not allowed in this neighborhood. Winslow is going to have to go. Oh no! Where will Winslow go? Who will be saving Winslow next? The Rhino in right field. What could that be about? Well, this book is set in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1948. Nick and his friends loved to play baseball, and their neighborhood field is right next to the city zoo. Tank, the Rhino, pen is on the other side of the fence for right field. And every once in a while, the ball will go flying into Tank's pen. Then whoever is sent to retrieve the ball has to run like crazy to get the ball back while Tank is looking the other way. Nick's family owns a shoe repair and hat shop. And Nick is expected to work at the family store on Saturdays. One day, a man by the name of Mr. Daggett comes into the store, and Mr. Daggett is the new owner of a semi-pro baseball team called the Milwaukee Mud Puppies. And he's got all these great ideas to get people excited about baseball again and back into the stadium. And one of his ideas is to have a contest for the boys in the area, and whoever wins the contest gets to be a mud puppy of the day. And with that honor, the boy gets to be the bat boy for the team and also hang out with the players in the dugout. Well, winning this contest would be a dream come true for Nick. One big problem. The contest is going to be held on Saturday. And those are the days where Nick is expected to work at the family store. Can Nick ask his father for the day off so he can participate, or is he going to have to find a different way to enter the competition? And what role does Tank, the Rhino in right field, play in the contest? Now, when you read this book, I would urge you at the very end, there is something called the author's note. And I would urge you to read the author's note because it has some really cool connections in it. I think you'll enjoy Rhino, the Rhino in right field. Louisiana's Way Home begins at 3 a.m. in Florida. Louisiana is rudely interrupted by her granny. Get up, child. The day of reckoning has come. We must leave immediately. Well, Louisiana stumbles to the car, still half asleep. She's not really too worried about this as they start driving north because her granny's had some weird ideas in the middle of the night before, but they've always gone home. Well, this time it feels different. especially when they go across the Florida-Georgia line. Louisiana keeps begging her granny to turn around, and they finally do stop in a town called Richford, Georgia. But the only reason they stop was because Granny has an extremely painful toothache. They find a place to stay at the Good Night Sleep Type Motel, and Louisiana soon learns and meets some of the kind of quirky citizens of the town. There is Brooke Allen. He's a mysterious boy who has a crow for a pet. There's Bernice, the grumpy lady who owns the motel. And then there's the Reverend, the minister of the local church. Louisiana thinks he looks like a walrus. And then Louisiana learns something about her family that turns her world upside down. And she's going to need the help of her new friends. But through it all, she keeps trying to get and find her way home. Louisiana's Way Home. In Strays Like Us, you're going to meet a girl named Winifred. She prefers to be called Fred, and a dog named Toby. Now, Fred's mom has made some poor choices in her life, and the judges decided that it's not a good idea for Fred to live with her mom right now, and he places her in foster care with a lady named Marjorie. When they get to Marjorie's house, arriving on the back of Marjorie's motorcycle, Fred hears a dog barking next door. And when she peeks through the fence, she sees Toby. He's a pathetic-looking animal, obviously neglected, and he has a big chain around his neck. Marjorie warns Fred, though, don't you ever go next door, because Toby is owned by a man by the name of Mr. Carter, who is the meanest man on earth. Well, long story short, Fred does get a chance to help out Toby, and in the process, she finds a way to deal with this terrible anger that's been building up inside of her. Now Fred longs to go back and be with her mom again, but when she gets a chance, will she take it? You'll find out when you read Strays Like Us. Jillian thinks she knows everything about life, but then someone tells her, "You don't know everything, Jilly P." And Jilly realizes, yeah, they're probably right. She does have a bunch of questions yet about life, like about her little sister, Emma. The baby is born deaf, and Jilly wonders, should they fit her for a hearing aid? Should they start teaching her sign language? And if so, when should they start teaching her that? Then there's about her Uncle Mike, who's white. He says some pretty insensitive things to her Aunt Alicia, who's black. Julie wonders if she should say anything to him, and if so, what should she say? Now, the good news is that Jilly has a friend named Derek, who is both black and deaf, and very proud of it. Derek might just be the one to help her with these questions. Now, the kids met online. They are both in a chat room. They're both fans of a fantasy book series, and we actually get to read their conversations in the chat room. Now, I have to tell you, This book deals with some very tough questions and topics that people are talking about now. And maybe you might want to use it as a conversation starter. Because as Aunt Alicia said, if you don't talk about it, nothing is going to change. And you may realize, like Jilly, you don't know everything. The Vanderbeekers of 141st Street live in a section of New York City known as Harlem. Now, the author has thoughtfully given us a map of the area so we can see where the action is taking place. The story begins a few days before Christmas. Now, you would think that the 5 Vanderbeeker kids would be all excited about the joys of the season, but they're not. They're worried, and they should be. Mom and Dad have told them that they are going to have to move. Mr. Biderman, the man who owns the building and who lives up here on the 3rd floor, has decided not to extend their lease. And he wants them out by New Year's. What? They haven't done anything wrong, have they? Well, the 5 siblings decide that they're going to have to come up with a plan to change Mr. Biderman's mind. So they make him things. They leave a homemade breakfast for him outside of his door. But everything they try, something goes wrong. They even get their neighbors to sign a petition to tell Mr. Biderman just what wonderful tenants they are. But nothing seems to work to change his mind. They're going to need a Christmas miracle, but will it be too late? Will they still be the Vanderbeekers of 141st Street? You're going to have to read the book to find out. And I also need to tell you, there is a sequel to this book if you like these characters. The Great Treehouse War happened because Winnie's folks got a divorce. Her mom and dad are very competitive of their time with her. And so they do all these weird things with obscure holidays just so that they can spend more time with her. For example, one day she was doing things to celebrate Peach Cobbler Day at her dad's house. The next day, she was celebrating Dolphin Day at her mom's house and all the activities that go along with dolphins. It got to the point where she was so busy doing these activities that she didn't have time to do her homework. Well, Winnie decides she just can't take it anymore. And so she retreats to her treehouse, which just happens to be exactly halfway between Mom's house and Dad's house. She refuses to come down from the treehouse until her folks come to their senses and are willing to sit down and discuss everything as a family. Winnie's friends find out what's going on with her, and they come to support her and join her in the treehouse, and they have demands of their own. For example, there's Joey, who wants unlimited screen time on his devices. Then there is Squizzy, who would like to be able to read books whenever she wants to. And then there are the twins, Logan and Brogan, who want to be able to watch their favorite TV show. Pretty soon, all the kids become known as the Treehouse 10. Now, at first, they just have a great time. This is like a stupendous slumber party with no parents. But as time goes on by, people start getting kind of grumpy because they're living in a very close quarters. And Winnie realizes that something needs to be done. Now, we know about this story because Winnie is writing everything down, and she is going to be having a memoir about her adventures in the treehouse. Now, all the other kids want to have some input on what she says, and so they comment on her writing with sticky notes. Also included are newspaper clippings and transcripts. So it's a very unique way of writing. It is the kids versus the parents in an epic standoff, and we wonder who is going to win the Great Treehouse War. When you read Squirm, you will meet Billy. Billy Dickens, who's a guy who likes snakes. See a snake here? In fact, he knows quite a bit about different kinds of snakes. And when he finds a snake, he'll take it home, put it in his garage, and keep it as a pet. And amazingly, his mom doesn't care. Actually, Mom is into bird watching, especially for bald eagles. Now, Billy's dad is a little more of a mystery. Nobody seems to know what he does for a living. Billy hasn't heard from or seen his dad since he was about 4 years old. And now that Billy's in middle school, he's decided it's time that he gets some answers. So he decides that he's going to fly from Florida, where he lives with his mom and sister, to Montana, where he has found out Dad is living. And when he arrives at Dad's house in Montana, surprise, surprise, Dad isn't there. He's off on one of his mysterious business trips. But Billy does meet his dad's second wife, Lil, and her daughter, Summer. The whole time that Billy is in Montana, he doesn't see his dad, but he does get a note from him that's dropped from a drone. So Billy goes back to Florida, and lo and behold, Dad shows up in Florida with his drone. And Billy and his dad have an adventure of a lifetime together. I won't tell you what happens, but I will tell you that there is in Florida, there's a panther, and in Montana, there's a grizzly bear involved in this adventure. So if you're looking for an adventure story, this would be the book for you. And if you read it, I think you might just squirm. The Untouchables are a bunch of 8th grade misfits who are grouped together in a classroom because of their unique learning styles and behavioral issues. On the first day of school, the teacher walks into the classroom and he finds the students are roasting marshmallows over a fire that they have built in the wastebasket. Yeah. So this book is another one of those that has the alternating chapters. And you're going to learn the story from the various students' point of view. I want to tell you a little bit about the kids. There's Kiana. She really doesn't belong in the class of Unteachables. She's new to town, and her stepmom just didn't get her registered for school, and she ends up placed in the class by mistake. Parker's in 8th grade, and he already has his driver's license, but he can't read. When he tries to read, all the letters on the page become a big jumbled mess. He can't read. Barnstorm is a super athlete. He's a star in all the major sports. And the bad news is he blew out his knee. And now he's going to spend the rest of the year on crutches. Raheem is a fantastic artist. He spends all of his day at school doodling and sleeping. You see, Raheem's stepdad is in a rock band, and they practice at Raheem's house every night. He doesn't get any good sleep at home. Mateo lives in a fantasy world surrounded by characters from Star Trek and comic books. When people say Elaine's name, they always add the phrase, rhymes with pain. Elaine is known as the scariest girl in the school, and stories of what she has done to others are legendary. Now about the teacher, Mr. Kermit. Something happened to Mr. Kermit. He's burned out. Years ago, something happened at school that drastically changed Mr. Kermit's life, and now he just doesn't care. He doesn't care about school. He doesn't care about the kids. He doesn't care about his life. All he really cares about is that he's going to get to retire at the end of this year. Well, looks like this is going to be a year of mayhem and destruction, unless something or someone can change things for the unteachables. Because of the Rabbit takes place in Maine. One night, Emma's dad, who is a game warden in Maine, gets a call. And it seems that there's a rabbit stuck in a fence, and they want the game warden to come and rescue it. When Dad and Emma arrive on the site, they realize this is not a wild animal. This rabbit had been someone's pet. Well, Emma begs her dad to let her take care of the rabbit until the owner is found. She names him Monsieur Lapin, after a character that her grandfather told her the story about. And she calls him Lappy for short. Well, it's a good thing that Emma has Lappy in her life, because this is kind of a scary time for her. She is going to be going to public school for the first time. Up until this point, she has been homeschooled. Emma desperately would love to have a best friend, and she thinks that she can find it at school. She does the research and she finds out things that people should do if they're looking to make friends, like find somebody that has an interest the same as you. So far, she hasn't had much luck. Well, during the first month of school, she is assigned to a project. And then she is assigned to work with a kid by the name of Jack. Now, Jack is loud. He can't stay on topic. And he kind of fidgets around. He just doesn't fit in. And Emma's worried that if other kids see her with Jack, they'll think that she doesn't fit in either, and they won't want to be friends with her. And maybe it will take Lappy to help Emma to get the friends that she longs for because of the rabbit. Now, something kind of cool about this book is at the beginning of each chapter, there's some fun facts about rabbits. For example, it says if a rabbit refuses food, it can quickly become an emergency. Another chapter begins with this fun fact. Most rabbits are happiest when bonded in pairs or group. So not only do you get to read the story about Emma, you also get to learn some facts about rabbits in Because of the Rabbit. Well, it's been 5 years since Livy has been to see her grandmother, who lives on a farm in Australia. She really doesn't remember too much about her last trip there. I mean, she was only 5 years old. She doesn't remember the horses. She doesn't remember the pigs. And she certainly doesn't remember Bob. Bob is a mysterious creature. He's small. He has green skin. And he's wearing a chicken costume that Livy had made him 5 years ago out of her old PJs. And Bob has been waiting in the closet for 5 years for Livy to return, because Bob has a problem. Bob doesn't know who or what he is, and he doesn't remember where he lives. He thinks, I wonder if I'm a zombie. Nah, I'm not a zombie. It's 5 years ago, Livy promised Bob that she would help him find his way home. But she had to go back to Massachusetts before she could get the job done. And now it's time to fulfill that promise. Clue by clue, Livy and Bob try to unravel the mystery of what Bob is and where he came from. And along the way, they discover a surprise that is going to affect everyone. Now, Bob has alternating chapters, so you get to read the story and learn it from both Livy and Bob's point of view. And I think that you'll enjoy finding out what the surprise is in Bob. Our next book is called Captain Superlative. In this book, you will meet Janie, and she's a quiet girl. She really doesn't do anything to stand out because she doesn't want to draw the attention of the mean kids at school, especially Dagmar. Now, Dagmar is the queen bee of all the mean girls, and her favorite target is Paige. No one will stand up for Paige because they're all afraid of Dagmar. That's until Captain Superlative arrives on the scene. Now, she has on a silver swimsuit, neon blue tights that match the wig on her head, a red cape with a big C on it, and a red mask. And she shouts in the hallways, "Never fear, Captain Superlative is here to make all your troubles disappear." And she starts doing random acts of kindness. She opens the door for people. She hands out mint candies to people. And she seems to be able to put the bullies in their place. And Janie wonders, why would anyone do this to draw attention to themselves? What's she trying to do? And who is this? Well, Janie sets out to try to figure out Captain Superlative's secret identity. And when she learns it, she is shocked. And she's even more shocked when Captain Superlative says, every superhero needs a sidekick. And I think you would be the perfect sidekick for me. What? Is she kidding? Janie doesn't want to draw attention to herself. She doesn't want to be a freak. Oh, but Captain Superlative's superpower is making a positive difference in people's lives. She's definitely changed things for Janie. And in fact, the whole school is different, but because of Captain Superlative. But when you read the book, you will learn that Captain Superlative has a terrible secret, and not even her superpowers can change what happens, and you'll find out when you read Captain Superlative. All Unbound is set in Pakistan, which is a country on the other side of the world. Now, as you can imagine, there are many cultural differences between our two countries. I have to admit that the author uses words to describe food and clothing that I was not familiar with at all. One of the biggest differences I learned about was the way that girls are treated in Pakistan. I found out that girls do not have the same educational opportunities that boys have. Amal wants to become a teacher someday and change that. But then Amal does something that was very unwise. She was publicly disrespectful to a very important and powerful man in their town, and his name was Jawad Sahib. And as her punishment, Amal has to go to Jawad's house and work as a servant for him. The good news is that the position that she's assigned is to be Jawad's mother's personal maid. It's considered to be the best job on the estate. There is another young woman by the name of Nabila, who is also a servant there. She had the job as the mom's maid before this, and she's very bitter that Amal took their job away from her. Her jealousy causes her to play nasty, nasty tricks on Jamal, making her life miserable. Jamal longs to go back to her own home with her family, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. You will be shocked when you read what it takes for Amal to be unbound once again. Our next book, Lemons, is set in California in 1975. Lemonade Liberty Wit is taken to live with her grandpa, Charlie, that she's never met before after her mom dies. Grandpa lives in Willow Creek, California, which is known as the Bigfoot capital of the world. Charlie even owns a Bigfoot souvenir shop. Lem's, her nickname is Lem, soon meets Tobin, who lives across the street from Grandpa. And Tobin is the president and founder of the Bigfoot Detective Agency. He always wears a safari hat, and he has his camera ready because you never know when a call will come in about another Bigfoot sighting. And he soon makes Lem his assistant. It's been a busy summer for sightings, and Tobin is convinced that something or someone is out there in the forest. Tobin has a lot to teach Lem about tracking Bigfoot, and Lem has a lot to teach Tobin about making friends, because as you can imagine, the other kids make fun of him because of his obsession with Bigfoot. But they keep reminding each other of something Lem's mom used to say: make lemonade when life gives you lemons. Harbor Me begins at the beginning of a school year. There are 6 kids with unique learning styles who are placed together in a classroom with their teacher, Miss Laverne. One Friday in September, Miss Laverne says, "Come with me," and she takes them to an old art room. And she tells them that every Friday, they will spend the last hour of the day in that room just talking. Well, what should we talk about? Well, anything you want. You talk about your hopes, your dreams, your fears, things that are bugging you, and there will be no adults around. What? Well, The art room soon becomes the arts room, ARTT, which stands for a room to talk. And it turns out the kids all have something to talk about because they do have concerns in their life. Haley is telling the story. She lives with her uncle because her mom has passed away and her dad is in jail. Her best friend is Holly, and they've been friends forever. Holly is very outspoken, and she does not let anybody stop her from sharing what she thinks. Army has been told he can't do certain things because of the color of his skin. Ashton is one of the few white kids in the school, and he gets picked on by the bullies. Esteban's family is from the Dominican Republic. He's worried that they're going to be moving back there. And Tiago's family is from Puerto Rico. His family is criticized for speaking Spanish in public. It is their native language, you know. Over the course of the year, the kids learn some very important things and very important lessons about themselves and others. They learn the power of friendship. They learn the importance of being able to share your innermost thoughts with someone and not be criticized for it. And they also learn about the joy of knowing that someone always has your back. You'll learn these lessons too when you read Harbor Me. Our last book is called Front Desk, and it takes place in Anaheim, California in 1993. Mia Tang and her family have moved to America from China. They've lived here for about 2 years, and I have to tell you, things have been rough for them. So you can imagine how excited they are when they get a job working as managers of a motel. They figure mom and dad can clean the rooms and take care of the laundry, and Mia can work at the front desk. She has some great ideas on what she can do to make things better. The motel is owned by a man by the name of Mr. Yao. He is also from China, but he's kind of a mean guy. And he makes some very unreasonable demands on the family. Now, for the most part, Mia enjoys working at the front desk, but she has some secrets. Like her mom and dad hide other Chinese people at the motel. When they find out that there are some Chinese immigrants who are down on their luck, they invite them to come and stay at the motel for free until they can get on their feet again. Now, if Mr. Yao finds out about this, as you can imagine, they would be fired. Mia has dreams of becoming a writer someday. Her mom urges her to stick with her math skills, but because English is her second language. And in fact, on her last writing assignment, she got a C-. And the teacher wrote across the top of her paper in red ink, "Bad grammar." Well, Mia does keep working on her writing skills, and she writes a series of letters that help change the lives of many people. And we wonder if her writing abilities and writing skills can help her family get off the poverty roller coaster, or are they always doomed to be working at the front desk? Well, those were my 20 books from the Iowa Children's Choice Award off that list. And I hope you found at least one book that you just can't wait to read. I also hope that as you're reading them, that you can make some connections like I did when I read these books. I hope that you make it a personal goal that you are going to read at least 2 of these books before the end of March so that you, yes, you, would be eligible to vote for the next winner of the Iowa Children's Choice Award. That would make me very happy if you would be able to vote. So until I'm able to see you again, and I miss you all, happy reading. This is Mrs. B, the book lady, signing off. Bye-bye.